Yeah.
All right, so today we are going to begin in a pose. Do any of you, all of you, have a blanket or a towel that you can roll up to put behind you? You know how we used to do that in class? You roll it up so you've got a little bit of height. Mine ends up probably being about 5 inches, but then when I lay down on it, it'll squish down to probably 4. But I just want you to have something, a pillow or a blanket, and I want you to put it on your surface behind you, so it'll land behind your bra line there. And so we're going to start in that pose. And if you want some additional stretching, we're going to start in that pose, and you can have your legs out straight or your knees bent, or you can come into a butterfly pose and support your knees with a block. So, you know, or you could just lay down on your mat without anything underneath you. This is all optional. So one is to have the prop behind your back, and then you can add on the props underneath your legs if you're in butterfly. So make your way down.
You're doing behind your back. Where are you putting it? Right at your bra?
At your bra line, so that you get a little bit of
open the heart
in the thoracic spine. Yeah. Yeah. So play around with that location too. You want to make sure it feels comfortable and that you can still get your shoulders and the back of your head on your mat without having your head up high. So sometimes if I've been really curled over doing different things, I even still need to put maybe a little bit of a pillow behind my head, even though the lumbar support is not, and the thoracic support is not that deep. It depends on how you've been, So you want to make sure that you can relax and have your chin in a neutral position when you lay down, and that your shoulders are relaxed and comfortable. So play around with that and come down onto your surface wherever you're going to be in that position. So I'm going to put that, I'm going to grab my bolster. Sometimes I put the the roller back there, and then I put my blanket up under the back of my head. That gives you even more opening, but it's up to you. It's your body. So lie down on your surface. And make your way into, that's going to be too much. I won't do that. Into the pose. Supine butterfly with back support. So when you're in the position and you feel comfortable and stable, you will allow your body to soften. You want to be in a position where there's no stress, where you're not tensing up any muscles to hold the position. You want to be able to be in this position just like you're floating, and you can relax. So you want to make any adjustments you need to make to feel supported and open. It is a very vulnerable position. You can rest your hands on your torso, maybe one hand on your heart and one on your belly, or you can bring your arms out to the side in a T shape, or you can bring your arms up and overhead. It totally depends on what feels good for you in this position of opening and spaciousness. And once you've found your Goldilocks spot, begin to focus on your breath. Focusing on the breath is focusing on the present moment. And the whole idea of the Eastern practices is to develop mindfulness, which is the ability to stay in the present moment. And on that note, I'm going to read you something that I've been thinking a lot about mindfulness in the present moment. And I found this wonderful quote from the Dalai Lama. And you can ponder it as you stay in this position. Here it goes. A stable, solid body is a mental image superimposed on a stream of events in the same way that a spinning propeller is seen as a circle. The constant succession of discrete acts of cognition or feeling appear as a monolithic event, just as the rapid changes of frames in a film appear as a smooth continuum. I'm going to read that again because that's deep. A stable, solid body is a mental image superimposed on a stream of events, in the same way that a spinning propeller is seen as a circle. The constant succession of discrete acts of cognition or feeling appear as a monolithic event, just as the rapid change of frames in a film appear as a smooth continuum. So that's a kind of a deep thought. One of the things I thought about when I was reading it after thinking about the present moment so much is that, first of all, we forget that the present moment changes constantly. So we can get stuck in some moments, some situations. They become part of our bag that we carry around on our back. And it's so freeing and enlightening to realize that all these things are just ephemeral bits of life that float around and move on. And we don't have to get stuck or bogged down or give into a feeling or a pain or an event, that we can just allow it to float like we allow our thoughts to float when we're meditating, just floating through our mind and letting them go. And one of the other interesting things I thought about is this whole pandemic. It's become like this giant, heavy object that we're carrying around in our bag, and it's permeating our lives, and people are getting a little frustrated with carrying it around, but it too can float lightly, and we don't have to make it bigger than it is or smaller than it is. Just let it be what it is and do what we can to live with it in the best way. A real challenge. So focusing in on your breath again, just notice what's happening in your body. We've opened up the inner thighs. We're opening up the heart space. We're allowing the prana to flow freely through all our chakras and nadis. So we're going to just stay here for a little bit longer. So I would like you to deepen your breath, making your inhales bigger, and then pausing at the top of the inhale for a moment, and then allowing the exhale to be long. Pausing at the base of the exhale, and do that a couple of times. So inhale, pause, exhale, pause. We'll do that several times. And then very slowly, if you've had your legs open in butterfly, draw your knees together and gently roll over onto your side so that you can make your way very gently up to seated. And remove that prop that was behind you. You can use it another time for something else. And come into a comfortable seated position with your feet open, your hips open, and tailor position. And just sit here for a moment and find the neutral spine by rocking gently back and forth on your pelvis. And then coming into a neutral spine, so you're not leaning backwards or forwards or hunched over. Take a nice deep breath in, lift up your shoulders. And on the exhale, slide them down the back so that they relax in an open position. We're to come into a pose here. It's called log, I call it log pose. So you're going to take your left leg and put it out in front of you and try to keep it parallel with the short edge, what would be the short edge of your mat if you're on a mat. Now, if your knee doesn't go down to the ground, which probably like mine, it doesn't, you can prop that knee up because you're going to take your other leg and you're going to put it on top of that in that parallel position. So again, my knee isn't going down, I'm going to prop it up. So you're forming a straight line with your lower legs, and then your upper legs are out in open fashion. Now, if this is too uncomfortable, if this is something that your body does not want to do, you can just leave one leg in the log pose and put the other leg down in front more in a tailor fashion. Because, you know, every pose doesn't work for everybody and every day. So we'll just leave that like that, because I haven't done this pose in a while. So again, find your sweet spot, find a spot that you can sustain with your legs crossed, either in this log pose or square pose, or in a more of just a regular easy pose. And once you've found a position that works for your body, we're going to forward fold here. So again, this can be challenging. Now that if you were challenged getting into the position, now you're going to be more challenged when it comes forward. So you can take pillows or bolsters, and you're just going to come forward just as far as your body wants to. Nothing too strenuous, nothing that's going to be uncomfortable or pinch. And if you're like me, you're feeling this in your outer hips. So again, come into about 50 to 60% of your range of motion. And if your head is like floating up in space, you can take that blanket that you had behind your back or with your prop, and you can rest your head on that so that you can totally succumb to the pose. And once you find your sweet spot here, you begin to follow your breath again. Just allow your low back to release. Feel that in the lumbar spine. And in the mid-back too, where we just stretched it the other way, we're now folding it in a different direction. Soften the shoulders. Take 2 more breaths. And then press into your hands and slowly come back up to seated. And we're going to keep the legs in that position for just a little bit longer. Take the arms behind your back. Lift up your heart space again. Shoulders relaxed. And then we're going to come up to neutral and take the leg that's on top. We're going to take that arm and bring it up, reach it up, take the other arm, walk it out, and just come into a side bend here. Relax that. For me, it's the right hip. Relax that inner thigh. Feel that whole right leg relax, soften, drop down a little further. And then slowly release that right arm, come back up, and we'll just do a quick turn on the other side. So we're going to bring the left arm up and take the right arm out, and just a nice gentle bend on this side. And slowly come up. And release your legs for a moment. Stretch them out in front of you. Say thank you. Thank you, leg, for doing that weird thing. Okay, so we have to do the other side. So this time you're going to have the right leg underneath. And again, prop it up if it needs to be propped. So it's resting on something, not hanging out in the air. And then take the left leg and bring it on top. This side you may be more or less flexible on, depending on those hips, those pesky hips. And find your sweet spot. It may again be just a tailor pose, or you may be in the square log pose, because we have to fold forward again and stress this other hip. So grab your props again, if you needed them and you wanted them. And we're going to fold forward and feel this sensation on the other hip. Relax the shoulders. Take 2 more deep breaths. Use your hands to walk yourself back up to seated. And we'll do what we did on the other side. We're going to keep the legs in the same position and take your hands behind you and just lift up the heart space for breath or 2. And then we're going to take that left arm, bring it straight up to the ceiling. Open up that shoulder as much as you can. Take the right arm out and gently fold over to the right. Feel that all along that outer hip, a little bit into the glute medius there, and then up into the sides of the ribs. Into the armpit. We want to keep that armpit. We want to keep the chi flowing through the armpit, girls. That's very important. Slowly come up, and we'll gently go to the other side, lifting up the right arm and slowly walking the fingers out to the left. And gracefully drop that arm down, come into well, you can release your legs. Bring them out in front of you. Just give them a little shake, a little massage, a little thank you. It's good to massage the legs, those lymph nodes getting properly juiced here. All right, we're going to come into, I think, everybody's favorite, and I say that tongue-in-cheek, pose, which is, it's called dragon pose. We're going to do baby dragon pose, which is like a little lunge pose. So if you don't want to come down into a lunge, you can go on your back and grab one of your knees in like a knee to chest pose. But this is a really good pose to do. It keeps you strong. And I want to introduce some more strength building into the practice here. So I'm going to put some more padding down for the back knee. And you can bring your blocks, if you have them, up to the front of your space here. You're going to come into table pose. And we're going to, I've got my hands on my blocks here, but you don't need blocks, but it does make it a little bit easier. I'm going to take that left leg and walk it through. So you're in a lunge pose here. And then you're going to take the right leg, get my blanket in the right spot here, and walk it back so that you can really lunge into that front knee. So you're opening up the right hip flexor. Very strong pose, really a wonderful pose. You don't have to worry about keeping your shoulders level. We're just working on the right quad, the top of the quad there. Now, if you want more bang for your buck, you can take that left foot and walk it out to the side and open up that left inner thigh. And that way you'll get a little extra stretch on the inner thighs. This is a very strong pose, and you want to not get, I've gotten into it and not been able to get out sometimes. It's kind of funny. We're not going to stay here that long. But I hope you're all feeling that wonderful stretch in the front of your right thigh. Isn't it great? Oh. So let's just take 5 deep breaths here. So focus on your breath, that ujjayi breathing. Another thing you can do, if you did this practice like at home later, You could put like a bolster on underneath that right quadricep up here, so you wouldn't have so much pressure on it, but you'd still get the forward movement. I've done that when I'm not feeling very flexible. You can prop it up so you don't have all the weight coming down on it. One more breath here. All right, so very, very slowly and carefully, come back. And we're going to take it down into a child pose between sides. So open up your knees, bring your toes together, and bring your head down onto a block or the mat. Just release that low back. Take a few breaths here. Two more breaths. Slowly make your way back up onto your hands and knees. Get your props in position. And we're going to walk that left leg through into lunge, and then come down onto props and stretch out. Is this the side I did before? It is.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. What a brain, huh? Oh my God. Love old age. So take the other leg forward. Now this side could be less challenging, more challenging. I love, one of the things I love about yoga is you really get to know where you're working and not working your body. And again, if you want more, you can open up that right knee and get some stretch in the right inner thigh. And you can do the same thing if you're on your back doing the knee to chest pose. You could come into a figure 4 position to stretch the inner thigh. In fact, we're going to do that at the end of the practice. So again, if you're having a day where you couldn't get into a lunge pose, you can just come into knee to chest and figure 4 and get the same benefits with less work. Isn't that the American way?
Or you pay somebody to do it.
Yeah, pay somebody to do yoga for you. Sure, I do yoga. My maid does it for me every week.
Yes.
Okay, take 5 breaths here. All right, so we're very, very slowly and carefully come back up to the table. And instead of coming into child this time, let's just do a few cat and cows. At your own pace, starting in neutral, and then inhale in neutral and round up the back. As you exhale, drop the belly and lift the chin as you inhale. Nice, slow, easy movements. Keep the shoulders in line with the wrists, knees in line with the hips. And then we're going to just make your way back to seated again. And this time, if you did have that blanket rolled up underneath your brow line, you can take that blanket and sit on it for this next pose. It might make it a little less, or a little more comfortable. Not necessarily, but you know, it could. So this next pose is another hip opener. Works a little different area of the hip. It's shoelace pose. So again, we're going to bring the legs out in front. And then you're going to take your right leg and cross it over your left leg and see if you can bring your heel, your right heel closer to your left hip. So you're in a half shoelace now. So if this is where you want to stay, you can stay in the half shoelace. And if your knee is up in the air, you can actually put a block under it to make it more comfortable. So that's option one. Now, if you have nice juicy hips, you can take that left leg and bring the left heel over towards the right hip. And in that case, you still might want to put a prop underneath on that right leg. So in other words, you want to be in this position in a way that's comfortable to you. Either just do one leg or prop yourself appropriately so that you can stay in the shoelace pose. We're going to forward fold again. So you may want to use a prop here. You'll notice it stresses a different part of the hip. So you're going to come forward over your prop, just as far as those hips don't lie, you know that song. Come forward as far as it works in your body. We're just going to stay here for 2 minutes. So this moves a little bit further down. The log pose gets up in the more into the glute medius. Down here, you're getting into more, I think, into the TFL, the top there of that outer big cartilage piece on the outer thigh. Slowly and carefully use your hands to walk yourself back up to seated. You can leave your legs where they are. We're going to do a twist here. So right leg's on top. So you're going to take your right arm behind you and take your left arm on the outside of your right thigh. And I'm not going to twist too much because of my ribs, but you want to twist over to the right and keep the spine long. Take some nice deep breaths here. Drop those shoulders, relax. Inhale, come back to center, and we're going to twist to the other side. So left arm behind and right hand sliding down towards the right ankle. Gentle twist, straight spine, relaxed shoulders and jaw. Relax the legs. And slowly come back to center. Unravel, untie your shoelaces here. And we're going to just bring the feet out in front. We're going to do some windshield wipers. So let's bring the hands behind and just gently take those knees from side to side. Okay, back to center. And now we're going to do the opposite direction of the shoelace. So we're going to keep the right leg out straight and bring the left leg over the top. Again, notice how it feels. The side could be very different. So that trying to get the left heel out closer to the right thigh. And again, propping if your knee is up in the air. And you can stay like this because we're just working one hip anyway. And or you could take your right heel and bring it closer to the left butt cheek. So wherever you need to be in this pose, we're going to come back and do a forward fold here and feel the stress on the opposite hip. Slowly and carefully press your hands down into the mat and remove your prop as you come up. Keep your legs in the fold, and we're going to start by twisting to the left. So you're going to take your left arm behind you and bring your right arm to the outside of the left thigh and just gentle twist. Let everything relax here. Nice straight spine. And then we'll go to the other side. So slide that right hand behind your right hip and take the left hand over onto the left shin or ankle and twist around to the right. Shoulders low, straight spine, deep full breaths. Relax those hips. And come back to center and unravel the legs. Do some windshield wipering. And then we're going to make our way down onto the mat on your back. And come into a pentacle or star shape. So take your feet out wide. To the either side of the mat or where the mat would be. Take your arms out to your sides in a T shape. Just take a few breaths here just to feel how the pelvic area has been definitely worked. Feel like a little more strength and flexibility in your lower body here. So we're going to prepare for banana asana. So we're going to start by moving your torso from your waist up over to the left side of your mat. And then you're going to slide that right heel over towards the left heel, making a beautiful banana shape. Now with your arms, you can leave them by your sides or you can take them up and overhead if you can keep that shoulder and elbow on the mat. If not, I would either prop it up so you can get it on a surface or not bring it up overhead. And we're just going to stay here for a little bit, giving some spaciousness to the side body. So you want to keep both hips on the mat. So take a deep breath in, bring your arms back down to the sides and your torso back to center. And slide that right heel over to the other side of the mat. And just pause here for a moment and notice the difference in one side and the other. And then we're going to do the other side. So you're going to shimmy your torso over towards the right and then slide that left heel closer to the right heel, keeping the hips on the mat. Again, with the arms, you want to make sure you can keep them on the mat so they could be beside you or up or overhead. Doesn't really matter so much. You just want to get that stretch on that left side of the body. So thinking back to that quote by the Dalai Lama about, thinking something of something as a solid object, that's really just a whirring conglomeration of particles. The same with our body. We tend to think of our body as just this utilitarian thing that we have until something goes wrong, until we get an ache or a pain. And then that ache or a pain reminds us that it has that particular piece. It has a quote unquote life of its own. So it's nice to think of the body as a whole and being healthy, but we have to take care of the parts. We have to acknowledge them and give them some attention, so that they serve us well. And the more we can acknowledge their importance and specialness, the more it will function as a well-functioning unit. I think I've all told you, I talk to my body parts all the time. If I bump my elbow, I go, "Oh, you poor elbow, I feel so bad for you." But it kind of works. I know it sounds crazy, but it kind of works. I don't think I've told my ribs how much I love them. That's probably why they get mad at me. So why don't you just feel if you could sink down a little bit deeper into the surface. If your arms are up overhead, release them down by the sides and bring your torso back to center. And bring your left foot over to the left side of the mat. And just stay here for a heartbeat or two. And for our next pose, you're going to need a block or a blanket or something to put underneath your hips. We're going to come into a supported bridge. So I like to use my roller. It's the perfect height for me. So find your prop. Could be that blanket that you had rolled up too. So find your prop and then bend your knees and put your prop underneath your butt. And then on an inhale, lift up and bring your prop right onto your sacrum. Not up on your kidneys, right on your sacrum. And you'll feel that great flexor stretch. So again, here's another pose you can do instead of baby dragon. It's not as strengthening, but it does stretch out the tops of the hips. And once you're here, you can leave your arms to the sides, or you can bring them up and overhead again to get a little extra stretch in the front of the body.
So we're going to bring your arms back to a neutral position. Bend your knees. And tuck your tailbone as you lift your hips up. Remove your prop and come down onto your mat. Take your feet out wide and bring your knees together. Place one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart in constructive rest pose, and just take some breaths here. So keep your knees bent, and we're going to take the right ankle and cross it over the left knee into a, we're just going to leave it like that for a bit. Just feel that out right inner thigh just soften. Feel that right hip drop down to the mat. Relax the knee. And then bring your arms out to the sides. And you're going to press into that left foot. Lift up your hips and drop your left hip over to the right side of the mat. And then bring your right foot down onto the left side of that. I'm not going to do it because of my rib, but you're going to come over into a twist with your legs in that figure 4 position. So I'm sort of in it if you want to look just to see. So your left leg kind of comes down in a bend towards the bottom of the mat, and the right hip stays open. This, you can go over far enough so that that right knee comes onto the mat, or you can prop it up with blocks or bolsters to let it have something to rest on. Like that. And then you can leave your arms out to the side, or you can bring them up overhead. And you're going to stay here for a little bit in this twist. And I'm not. Slowly, carefully bring your knees back to center. Unravel that right leg. And then draw the knees into the chest. Grab onto the tops of your knees and just make some circular motions here. Put your right foot down on the mat and cross your left ankle on top of your right knee and kind of encourage that left knee to open up. And then you can bring your arms out to the side. Have a prop handy if you want for the right side. And you're going to press into that right foot, lift up the hips, and bring the right hip down on the left, and drop your legs over to the right. So your right knee will land on the mat or on a prop. I mean, your left knee, and then your right leg will kind of be sort of half folded down towards the base of the mat. And this is just a different kind of twist. You just stay here for a little bit. Slowly come back to center. And lengthen out your legs for the last pose. We're going to do a short Shavasana today. So lengthen out your legs, make yourself comfortable, and let your body soften down into the mat. Starting from the top of your head, relax your forehead, your eyes, your cheeks, your lips. Soften your jaw and your neck. Let your shoulders, arms, and hands be very heavy. Soften your heart, your lungs, your belly. Relax your hips and your thighs. Soften your knees and calves and shins. Relax your ankles and your feet. And just float.
Start to come back, wiggle your fingers and toes. Gently nod your head from side to side. Stretch your arms and legs. Take a long stretch. And when you're ready, slowly roll over onto your side and just stay here for a minute. I'm going to read you a little quote from the Tara Brach. The greatest gift we give each other is that we become the mirror of goodness. When we see the goodness in others, we call it forward. So make your way up to seated. Bring your hands to your heart. May all beings be happy and free, and may our thoughts, words, and actions contribute in some small way to peace and harmony on our planet. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, everyone.